Hey guys, welcome back to the another episode of the Cerebral Palsy and Fitness Podcast. I'm here with Charles Martinez, also known as CL Kid. He's a musician and a recording artist. Welcome, Charles.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on here.
I'm good, man. I'm excited to have you on, and I've seen that you've done so much with your journey so far. The last few months since we've actually spoken. Like you started a nonprofit. You're still working on your music, and it's always so awesome to see somebody excelling in what they enjoy. So to kind of start out the podcast, tell me a bit about your background and what kind of got you into like the whole music industry.
Cool. Yeah, my father was actually a DJ in New York. This was like prior to me being born and early into me being born. That like musical taste has always been there for me. He was a big old school Michael Jackson, so always listen to music, like always.
Oh,
He was gonna put music on. So developing an ear for not just production, because obviously at that time I didn't know anything about producing, but just layouts of songs, how the beats develop from the intro to the hook to the chorus to the whatever, right? Uh, it just kind of came naturally, and it was never spoken to or taught to me, but it was something that later on, years later, like high school, uh, I was one of those tap on the desk kids, and I naturally realized I was like, it works and how to go upon developing one. But I had no programs, no software, no musical talent. I didn't know how to play piano. I didn't know how to really do anything. And in the production side, like piano is the home base there. Like if you can understand piano and a little bit of the logic behind the notes there, that can take you all the way. So at one point I somehow got roped into a 2-on-2 rap battle kind of thing in high
oh
school.
man,
Yeah,
here
yeah.
we
And this was at a
go.
time I had absolutely nothing. This wasn't like I didn't like even know that I was ever going to be in music whatsoever. It would essentially be like you. I mean, I don't even know what musical thing you ever explored, but if you told me you had no musical talent and you never even thought about music, you're in. That's what happened to me. I was like, well, you guys didn't even know that I even had any music talent. These two guys challenged me and a friend of mine. It was just the whole thing. I had to come up with lyrics because at that point it was like, the put in the spot kind of moment. Like it wasn't going to happen right then and there, but we were going to record these like verses against each other. And if I back down, all of a sudden, then I look a certain way. So I was like, you know what? I'll try it. I'm a writer type. Maybe I'll come up with something. And from there, it just, took off. Like I developed more and more interest in both the production side and the writing side. And the guy who actually challenged me is the one who records and edits my videos.
Oh, okay.
So
So
oddly enough, man, it came full circle.
you
Interesting
became
situation.
frenemies in a sense, you know?
Yeah, and it's weird. We were never really enemies at that time. It was just a situation that came up, and we played basketball a lot together, mainly against each other. Like that was kind of our competitive edge, one against one another at local courts a lot. We always seemed to be on the opposite end. But yeah, the music thing just kind of was thrusted onto me. And fortunately, I had enough background to start picking it up and run with the ball.
That sounds pretty awesome. I mean, seems like you had humble beginnings, you had your struggles at the beginning and you just continue to work at it. And that's pretty awesome to hear though, the fact that you kept persevering despite having those struggles in the beginning. And then what kind of genre or type of music do you produce?
So all my production's on the hip hop end. I've worked with some people just on some other projects that are like for example, I've done little piano tracks for people who do gospel music. Done some drum tracks for people who do rock music, and no, I'm not a big like EDMer, but there's been a lot of like pop music that comes up that's not necessarily my flavor. But if you understand any of the breakdown of the beat, it's pretty easy to produce across across the different spectrums there. But in order to be, you know, you look like Timberland or Pharrell or any of these Kanye, one of these people who have like when you hear their sound, you know their sound. You got to really stay in your lane and understand what you're great at and what you naturally
Right.
love. And that's the process, figuring out what that is. Because I mean, if you have someone next to you, kind of doing this, and they're molding you a little bit, maybe they influence you in some way, and you have some kind of cultural shift, like where you get like the down south, style, Atlanta style, or the West Coast style, the New York style. Uh, there's those influences, but being creative it just has to happen naturally. And if you're going to have any longevity with production, you got to stick to what you love and what you're great at, and be great at that before you start, dwelling on, what else can I do, right? So
Exactly.
that's the biggest part of the process, and then obviously just learning to love that process, because it's very easy to get impatient. It's very easy to compare and to and this is anything. It's not just music. You know what I mean? You look at social media. That's the nature of that. It's a great marketing tool, but at the same time, it puts people in a place where they feel like they need to make it now and rush themselves and put pressure on themselves. When in all actuality, like if it's going to be a great thing, it's going to take time, and you really
Right.
need to
Right.
go through that process. And for me, that was you asked about the struggles early on, or what it could have been like. It wasn't necessarily beat making. Like I actually felt some of my first ever stuff was very well done. Now the editing, the engineering, like making sure the sound sounded as great as they can be. Sure, that I wasn't great at that. I was actually poor at that, I would say.
Uh-huh.
I had no experience with it, so like making my piano sound better, even though I have cheap software or whatever it may be, I didn't know how to do anything like that. So I had to kind of grow with it. But just the simple process of laying out the beat, having cool ideas, and meshing sounds, like I was always good at that. And that's something I can give myself. But the process of being patient, understanding that I don't need to look around and get impatient with myself or compare, and loving that process instead of the end result was the biggest growing pain.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's one of those things that you just like you said, it's a process. You work at it little by little, step by step, and you see it mold and you see the progress. And some of it, like you said, some of it might be positive, some of it might be negative, and it's always good to not rush through it, like you said,
Yeah.
and just take your time with it. Like today, I'll give you an example. Today, I was on the way to work, and this guy and I were talking about YouTube channels. So I go and share, I'm like, oh, I have like 322 subscribers and 12,000 views. Like, why do you only have 322 subscribers? It should be like more watching your channel. You should try to like pay for to get up there. And I'm like, you know what? I don't prefer to pay because I feel like in a sense, like those sub for sub groups and stuff like that, even though you're subbing in their pages or their YouTube channels, it's still gonna backfire on you. They're still gonna unsub, they're still gonna take views from you, and you're still gonna be in the same spot you were before you started that. So it's not good to cheat your way through success, but it's good to build it organically, which is what we're doing with our professions.
Yeah, and definitely agree. Shortcuts never get you anywhere, right? They just make you feel a sense of accomplishment that you haven't really earned yet. And that can be nice, to feel a little gratitude for everything you've been working hard and getting no recognition for. But there's nothing better than that organic growth, that organic reaction, that organic engagement, where you got people who actually cling to what you're passionate about. Like what you have going on. You have a lot of people who are passionate about the same things, or maybe you're interviewing people like me who may not have the same story, but the journey is still similar in terms of challenges and things you have to overcome. But I get the whole YouTube, channel promotion and sub for sub, because again, there's that pressure to hit the 1,000 subscribers so that you can monetize the average hours, and you can monetize and try to make money
Yeah,
off of it, because you see all these people saying they're making money off it. And
yeah,
I'm not saying that their claims are false. It's just, when you're, let's say, for example, and I use this example in my own head whenever I'm like, having those doubts throughout time, right? It's if I had made my first song, and that first song was a hit, let's say, right out the gate, at that point, was I set up for success individually and long term, or would I have been taken by somebody who would have offered something less than favorable? With the industry itself kind of engulfed me because I wasn't ready to make another song and another hit. It's a, if you rush to the success, you won't be ready when that success comes. And your organic growth, like you're speaking of, is so important because once you have a proven model and then you get noticed, it's easy to build on top of that, you know? So like you have to go through those
Exactly.
growth stages. Like you have to.
So going back to the rap battle, I saw
Yeah.
this circling online. Do you watch AEW?
So I haven't been watching AEW. I watched AEW pretty consistently till, and this is some time back. Orange Cassidy had his first big push. CM Punk came. There
Oh,
was a
so
little
it's been a
gap
while
there.
since you watched it. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I will like semi keep up, you know what I mean, or watch like the little Bleach Report shortened versions. But I haven't truly kept up with
So
AEW,
so
in a long time.
the reason I ask is because I saw this circulating online. Who is the better rapper, John Cena or Max Caster?
Okay, so I don't know enough about Max Caster, right? So like somebody mentioned him, uh somebody who does not watch wrestling whatsoever to me.
Yeah.
So like have you seen this wrestler? He's like rapping and I again, like you just referenced, I was like, is it an older clip? And they're like, I don't know what it was, but I didn't know the perk people. I was like, it was it John Cena? And they're like, I don't think it was John Cena. Even though you would think like John Cena's a pretty recognizable face. Like if you either know or you don't know with John Cena.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't think it was John Cena. I don't think I've seen this guy before. And so at this point, I vaguely knew about Max like Caster, like to the point where if you walk by me, I wouldn't even recognize him. Right. So I'm like, all right, let me check this thing out. And the clip was kind of a poor clip to even listen to because it was pretty short and there was somebody like their vocals, they were like talking over it the whole time. And I'm like, ah,
Yeah.
like whatever. Didn't really give it that much time. So I don't really know much about him. But I do know that John Cena, I mean, have you ever listened to John Cena's album? Like the actual album,
Yeah,
not like
his the first one with TNA trademark back
yes.
in '08. Yeah, I had that album and I still listen to it now to this day.
I mean, I don't listen to much. I don't listen to that often. But there was a period of time where I would listen to a few of the tracks. And I actually don't know the names because I didn't have it. Like it was just like a downloaded CD of the songs. Especially at the moment, obviously it's pretty easy to pick up on the name when you listen to a song. But I actually don't think John Cena was all that bad.
No, he's not that
And
bad.
no, yeah, and in the ring, I liked his delivery in the ring, like
Yeah,
how it almost be like, storytelling, but calmly delivered. Obviously, there's no music playing because
right.
you got a crowd
And
there. But I like the whole the Cena shtick with the rapping. Uh, I don't know enough about Caster. So do you think Caster's better than Cena?
I mean, if you're talking about we're comparing generations, right? John Cena was
Sure.
more
I
of
mean,
the attitude, ruthless aggression era, very uh very out there. And then when I listen to Cena and Caster's kind of like bringing it back to the attitude era because when I hear him rap, he goes all out. Like he uses real life scenarios, like what's going on in our society nowadays. I think I remember hearing him rap about Kanye when Kanye was caught up in that situation lately with Adidas and anti-Semitism.
sure.
And Max Castro had said something about Kanye, and I'm like, dude, he just mentioned that not even 2 days ago, and this guy's already rapping about it. I'm like, holy crap.
So is he? Wait, how do you say his last name? Is it Castrick or Castor?
Castro,
Okay, so
Caster. Yeah.
okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Because I thought for a second that you said Castrick, and I was like, yeah. Like I said, I never actually looked him up. I just saw that one clip. But is he rapping in the ring the way Cena was rapping in the ring as well, or
He
is he just putting out albums?
he raps on the way to the ring, and then
Ah, okay.
yeah,
That's all right. That's kind of what I thought I saw, but it wasn't the full walk down the ramp, like walk to the ramp. It was like a shortened piece. Okay. All right. Is that his normal thing? Is he doing this all the time right
yeah,
now?
he does it every week on
Oh man. Okay.
Dynamite. Yeah,
Maybe it's time. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna
yeah, you're gonna have to look him up, man. He's pretty talented.
It's kind of a weird thing. Never happened before, but for some reason it's doing it.
But
But
it's cutting in and out, right?
Yeah, it is cutting in and out. And I've never had it cut out before. For some reason on here, that seems to be the case. The world doesn't need to see me, apparently. They've had enough. The you can't see me. The you can't see me has taken over. You bring up John Cena and it
John
takes over the
Cena.
camera.
John Cena did this. He's interrupting our podcast.
Oh, that guy. Well, can't let me have any shine, can he? That's all right.
Right.
But yeah,
And
I was always a a WWE guy, not an AEW guy, you know. But even then, I haven't actually kept up with WWE as much lately either. Well, listen, I kept up, but I haven't watched as
yeah,
much.
WWE's went down as a product when Vince was there, but then once Vince left and Triple H took over, it's
Yeah,
starting to get better, but it still needs work.
yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. I have watched some pay-per-views, like, um, I'm in a Facebook group that still heavily discusses WWE a lot, and I'm not like a big social media scroller, but I do see some of the stuff they mention, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what is that? And I'll stop and I'll read or I'll check it out. And then the other day, I put on Monday Night Raw just randomly, and I was, kind of like forgot that was a part of like something I used to do.
Hmm.
And Dolph Ziggler was wrestling. I was like, dang, this guy's still around. And I'm like, it was odd to see, but the match itself was pretty good. It was against what's this guy's name? He's the new young guy who's very popular. He's a heel.
Austin Theory?
Austin Theory. Yeah, that's right. He's almost like pretty much taken over Ziggler's old role, like back in the
Yeah.
time. But yeah. What do you think of him? You like him?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at him, I don't think of John Cena because everybody's comparing him as John Cena. I see him
Yeah,
as
neither
kind of
do
like
I.
I see him as kind of like a Tyler Breeze when Tyler Breeze was in NXT, with the camera and
Yeah,
flashy and showy. You
yeah.
know, I don't see him as John Cena.
Yeah, I never thought of him as John Cena either. He kind of has a different vibe altogether. And I actually loved Tyler Breeze when he first came up. I was hoping that he would. I mean, I know they went with the Fandango thing, but I thought they kind of like didn't give him the justice he deserved when he
Yeah,
finally got promoted. But yeah, I don't know. Like Austin Theory is he clearly has all the in-ring talent and the swagger. I haven't really like given him enough watch time to build a true opinion. I only kind of saw him when he was first coming in, and he was still kind of corny and developing his talent. But now he's like everywhere. So it's
yeah,
time for me to go back. I did watch a match like I said recently, but other than that, I still need to give it a little more before I can judge, how I feel about him.
yeah. It's incredible how now we're starting to build up to these companies are starting to come up again, and now we're having some more competition versus now. If you look at wrestling back in the day and now, it's not just about the WWE anymore. You can go anywhere now. You can go to New Japan. You can go to those companies, those small indie shows, ROH, AEW as we discussed, which now it's kind of declining a bit because now you don't have Punk anymore and people are trying to rely on
Yeah,
MJF. I gotta say, in terms of heel wrestlers, right now MJF is the best one out there in my opinion.
fully agree. So MJF, when I told you I used to watch consistently, like for AEW, I love that dude. I was like, I think this guy, he is their CM Punk, in terms of natural heel emotion on the mic. Like a lot of guys, you can tell, like obviously it is what it is, like, being fake or scripted or whatever you want to call it. But he has a natural vibe to be a serious heel. Not like, how the Miz, when he first was like champion of Alex Riley, he had that same natural serious heel, but then he kind
Right,
of became almost like mid-tier heel, where it's like sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. But even when he's bad, it's more like for the kids, like
right.
silly bad. I like that authentic, angry heel like CM Punk was, like MJF is, and I don't know, like not that he'll ever. I don't know if he'll ever be in WWE, but obviously WWE has a history of messing people up. But I would still like to see him in WWE anyway, just to see. I don't know. Again, I don't know where he would fit because I don't know how many faces there are that I actually would draw to because they're so heel heavy now with Theory and Reigns,
Right.
Rollins and Rollins. Like it'd be kind of weird I don't even know who to go against. But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
gonna be an interesting next year or so to see where he goes because he's waiting for that big boatload of money. I mean, right now they're paying him pretty good. They're paying him more than the most of the AEW roster. And
yeah,
the thing that scares me about MJF is how dedicated he is to being that character, and he does not break it. I've seen interviews of him outside of the ring and podcasts and things like that. And that man stays in character. I'm like, is
yeah.
that really you? Or is this like some sort of fad you got going on, man?
Yeah, he's true to the old days, you know. That's how it used to be, like that kayfabe or whatever Vince had. Or it's like even if you run into people, I remember they had a I don't think it was Hogan, but it was one of these like super throwback guys, right? Talking a story about uh a heel and a face who were about to be on a pay per view. Accidentally, they used to have to share schedules. Like I'm gonna go this way, routes, everything, because they couldn't be in the same area. And these guys messed up and went to the same gas station. And it was two notable people. I'm just blanking on who they were. But they went to the same gas station and they walk in and they have to, because of the rules at that time, they had to stay in character and they actually fought in the gas station because,
Oh man,
nowadays, everybody records everything every 2 seconds. But
yeah.
back then it was more just eyes. So they had to fight in the gas station. They broke a bunch of stuff, made it seem as legit as it could be, and then Vince and WWE paid the gas station off
Yeah.
for all the damages. But it was like that dedication to making sure that the product looked as authentic
Yeah,
as possible.
it's like with Booker T and Austin in the supermarket.
That's got to be a top five thing for me. Like easily, love
Yeah,
that
and
scene.
then the moment in the church, where I guess Booker T calls Vince and he says, "Joe, you guess where I'm at?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm at church." And you see Vince break character because and then he sits in the little pew where you meet the bishop.
Oh, that's
He
right.
opens the window
Stone Cold,
and
yeah,
it's Austin on the other
yeah.
side.
Man, they did such a good job with that Booker T Stone Cold Steve Austin rivalry right there. It wasn't very long, but it was so good in a short period of time, and it went to a time where WWE was willing to do these off-site, shoots and stuff. Like I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I won't say I consistently watch Raw or SmackDown like that anymore. At that time, it was like a staple of my life. But uh, do they do that anymore? Do they go off-site and at
Uh,
stores and all like?
they're starting it back up now with Triple H at the helm. Triple H is giving more freedom control to the superstars as to
Gotcha.
what they want to do, how they want to stage stuff. So it's less strict, not like
Yeah,
Vince, where Vince is like, we're doing it this way and it's my way. We're not doing it at all. You know how he always was.
yeah, for sure. He was not willing to change. It was just this what it was. So yeah, for sure.
So now Triple H is more freedom based, and I'm glad for that. And I hope in the future, now that we have all companies kind of getting together, that there might be some crossovers, different companies, like just
Oh,
during
that'd
the
be
Royal
great.
Rumble, Impact. Knockouts champion Mickey James at the time. She debuted in the Royal Rumble. She went into the Royal Rumble with the Impact title on,
Hmm.
and she
So that's
performed in a new.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Who did that?
Mickey James.
Oh, Mickey James. Okay, so somebody was in history, right? So yeah, that does open a door because I remember they were talking about New Japan. This is off air talking about New Japan maybe having some kind of tournament with WWE or something. Obviously, it never happened, and then they end up just doing that UK tournament with NXT and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a step in that direction. Obviously, those are not. That's still just WWE. It's not crossing companies. But I just had this conversation maybe like 2 days ago with somebody. I don't know if you watch golf. At all. Do you do that? Are you into golf?
A little bit, not as much.
Sure. I mean, you don't got to be like this like detailed analyst about it for the conversation. But I don't know if you're aware of the Live tournament, which is like
Oh
basically
yeah,
right,
Live and the
right.
PGA Tour. Yeah, how they're messing up the
Yeah.
like
So you
some
have
of them are
two.
jumping to Live for the
Yeah.
pay, for because they're making more.
And honestly, I was thinking like, man, how great would it be? Because you know how they have the match, and it's like for example, the match is coming up. It's Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy against Justin Thomas and Spieth, and I'm like, that's cool, that's great. But imagine how good it could be if these two had like, you know, 5-on-5 teams with two different brands competing. Like, even though there's animosity there, I feel like that'd be a better watch. You know, that'd be interesting to
Yeah.
see. Like, I don't know how you do it in the scripted world, but I would love to see a some kind of WWE, AEW, New Japan tournament where it's like, you know, and then any other brand that I'm blanking on that I'm unaware of, where it's just like they all enter people and maybe behind the scenes they just have an agreement on who's going to win what year or develop, you know, depending on the
Yeah, it could
talent at the
happen.
time. Yeah, that, I feel like that'd be kind of, you know, be
You never know.
interesting. It would cross promote. I know that's like competition, and you probably don't want to do that. You know, Burger King doesn't offer McDonald's coupons, but you know, you never know. It might be something interesting to see. You know, it makes the talent pool seem bigger, and it opens up the door for all kinds of crazy
All
surprises.
right.
So, you know, I think it'd be cool.
So yeah, I mean, there's tons of room for a lot of possibilities, and we just have to hope to see what it holds for 2023 as far as the sports world. Should be
Yeah, for
exciting.
sure.
So to I guess venture back into your music. So I have I'm a big fan of these three songs. So I like Lonesome, Bonnie, and Sleepless Nights. So I'm a big fan of those. Like I listen to those all the time. And my question to you is, are you working on like albums? Are you working on like separate songs lately? Or are you just taking a little hiatus and kind of planning everything out?
So actually, I've written a few songs, and one I'm gonna do on Christmas is actually I just did a post about this like bear donation thing I'm doing. Um, and the music behind that is the instrumental for the song that I'm putting out on Christmas called "Feel Me," and that's more of a kind of like a slower singy song, sad song kind of thing. But I actually have written three other songs that I'm going to record very soon. And it wasn't really a hiatus that took me away from it. It was just so much other things going on in terms of the nonprofit, really focusing
Yeah.
on that, partnering. I partner with We Fam United, which is another nonprofit that's run by Jamal Weeks. He's a coach with the Mets right now.
Awesome.
And yeah, so we just working on some bigger projects and some other things. And I wanted to utilize the time as much as possible. But the writing mind never goes away. The beat making mind has never gone away. I still sit here and I do that. And that's something that while yes, I haven't been putting out songs, that that's not going away anytime soon. It will continue to go that way. The three songs you referenced to Sleepless Nights, Bonnie, and I'm sorry, what was the third one?
Lonesome, I think it was.
Oh, Lonesome, right? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I love those songs, and I'm not a big person who like I don't like go back and like listen to my song and post it 8 billion times. Like I know a lot of people do. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? But so as soon as I post it a few times, it's pretty much the end of it for me, and I just kind of move on. But yeah, I love the creativity of trying to come up with songs like that because like Bonnie is obviously a lot different than most songs. Uh, and while the other two are kind of standard rap pop-ish type songs, I just have fun making those beats because they're samples. Sleepless Nights is a sample of the Journey song, Separate Ways. That was always one of my favorite songs, so that was very fun to kind of start developing. And um, man, sorry, what was it? Oh, the Lonesome, the one that's kind of like blended. Yeah, that was kind of cool too because some of these songs I did over COVID, uh, and at that time I didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, nobody did, right? And I
Yeah.
had like three videos lined up I was going to do, and I couldn't do anything. And I was like, well, there goes that, right? Like I have these songs with these videos. It's all planned out. Some of the stuff I already like rented places and all that. And I was like, all right, well, I can't do it. Let me just put out some lyric videos. And then, finally that ends and I was able to come back and start actually doing some videos. Fortunately, I didn't slack and just like take the shortcut with Bonnie because I
All
feel
right.
like the video goes very well hand in hand with the song. Uh, but yeah, man, no, I'm never gonna quit. Ever. Like I'll always
Hey,
be
you,
doing
you
this,
can't, man. You gotta keep
Yeah,
going,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I'm not
For
results
sure, man.
oriented anymore. Like I'm more just do it because I love to do it. And
I'm the same way
yeah,
when I'm doing this and everything else. It's all about the passion. That's why I mentioned earlier,
uh,
if if you if you really care about something and you're passionate about it, you won't cheat. you'll do it organically.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's the thing that a lot of people need to listen to. And you know, tunnel vision, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Don't worry. I mean, it's great to look at other people and see what they're accomplishing and maybe take from what they're doing and go, hey, this could be successful for me, or I like this concept, or maybe I want to go and be influenced by it. But just don't let it get to a point where you're beating yourself up about it and you're not making any success or
Right.
any leeway because you're so focused on being where they are and you don't really know their journey. Like one, it could be purchased, like you said, could just be paid. Two, it could be that they worked on it for 20 years and you just didn't know about it, and it's just you don't know their story, so it's hard to compare. It's not the same race. You gotta stay in your lane, focus on what you're doing, and just learn to love whatever it is you do, regardless of the result. And then that's when you probably start feeling success.
So who, in regards to your music, who are your biggest influences and who would you collab with if you had the chance to collab with anybody?
Cool. Jay-Z for sure. He's number one for me. Michael Jackson, you know, obviously not possible to collab there, but the musical influence of Michael Jackson on me, though it doesn't really appear in my music, because I'm not like a singer, Obviously, I have some
Yeah.
little rap singy flows like a lot of modern guys do, but the that's by far like that's my dude. Like number one for me. Jay-Z is the easily number one writing wise. He has like I know a lot of people kind of compare me to Eminem in some ways and in some songs because my songs kind of have a big diversity amongst them, but the the written concepts that Jay-Z employs where he's, very metaphorical, very indirect about what he's saying, double meanings, double entendres, all that. That's right down my alley. Like I love that. So it's hard for me to even have a song where, for example, I have that song writing and it's like, I made that beat for somebody else. I don't know if you're aware of the song. It's just called Riding. But I made the beat for somebody else. They actually thought the beat was too like advanced for them. Like they
Oh,
were kind of newer
what?
and they're like, yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, it's a pretty
Oh,
basic, it's a pretty basic beat. They're like, I kind of hits too hard, bro. Like I need it to be like more happy sounding because like I don't write as well
man.
as you as where I want to be, and I feel like I won't do the beat justice. Even though it's a simple beat, there's almost no sounds on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, like I'll give you a little island beat, and that's kind of what he was looking for. After that, and we went through a process, and so like it took me like 10 minutes to make that beat. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of started liking it. I started writing to it. And if you listen to that song, I don't say you know, almost nothing metaphorical. It's very straightforward and very simple. And I was just like, I'm just gonna try it just to see if that's something I can get into. It's not really my thing. I feel like everything I say has to have like some kind of secondary meaning, or some kind of simile metaphorical thing. And that's my style, mainly through Jay-Z, and then maybe the flow from some from Eminem, but not too much. But those three, uh, definitely, if you listen to the songs, you can tell that that's kind of where my concepts come from.
How do you feel about when it comes to music, how do you feel about the use of autotune in songs?
I'm okay with it. I know that wasn't the thing back in the day. I think its initial wave, other than T-Pain, because he was very
Yeah.
artistic with it, and T-Pain's a pure singer also. Like a lot of people think he just tunes everything. And I think, but what happened was like a misconception with auto-tune is that, people think, okay, well, I can't sing at all, so I'm just gonna auto-tune it, and then I'll be able to sing. And it's like, that's not how that works. It's still garbage in, garbage out. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever worked with auto-tune or seen auto-tune being used in front of you, but all it does is, you can pitch correct anything that somebody says so it's closer, but you get those like draggy notes that sound kind of weird and bended and that's because it can't perfect everything you do.
Right.
Now granted, it makes it sound kind of cool on some songs and whatnot, but I think at first it was a band-aid that people who weren't putting in the work were using to mask that, and kind of not cheat the way to the process because music's creative and if you like it, you like it. But they were using it to make up for less talent instead of let's saying, okay, well, I can't sing like for me. I'm not a singer. I'm just not. And I accept that. I'm okay with that. But if I want to do a singy song, I'm gonna make sure that I write to my ability and then maybe make the beat because I'm obviously self-produced, make my beats so that they're, maybe a little more hype than my singing ability. That way I can kind of,
Mhm.
still make up for that. A lot of people would just, I'm auto-tune everything, and and that became the fad, and it was overkill. But now,
Right.
you don't see it as much. I think uh like that Kanye 808s and Heartbreak album, which I love, that auto
Yeah,
tuning
great album.
was, yeah, right. And I like that a lot. But other than that, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just, it was a band-aid at first, and now it's kind of faded anyway.
Yeah, like you mentioned, when people overuse auto-tune, in my opinion, I feel like it takes away from the authenticity of the
Okay.
song and the music itself. Because some people want to hear the real you, even though it sounds terrible. They still want to hear you, and some of them might not agree that it's not as bad, you know?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like almost like a legacy thing, right? So like if you watch basketball, like you say, you're a Heat fan, right? You
Yeah.
got like, for example, you got LeBron, you got Jordan, right? They do different things, but even though they play differently, there's still a comparison amongst their games. So it's not as though we're like, debating free throw shooting ability where there's a number that tells you who's better. Um, there's so much, objectivity and stuff that you can have in comparison with music, where you get two different styles, and you can't say one is wrong and one's right, but I agree with you. Like as far as your legacy goes, like I can't look at somebody who had a full career of auto tuning, not like T-Pain, because again, like you said, he can sing, who's just like, making like maybe hood music or whatever, street music, and it's like they're just tuned the entire time. I can't compare you to somebody like Jay-Z, even though your songs are just as enjoyable. It's like, well, look at what Jay-Z's doing writing wise, look at the flow, he has more substance, like in that regard, I will kind of hold that against them. But for the most part, I don't worry too much about it because you look at even the weekend. The weekend, I'm sure he's a great singer naturally, but almost all his songs are tuned. They all have that filter above them to make it sound almost like staticky, and nobody
Yeah.
ever complains about it. It's just those big open vocals with big limit like sounds that are just very open. There's only very few sounds so that his vocals really pop on his songs. But he's like, everybody loves the weekend, right? And it's just one of those things where it's ignored. Nobody even thinks to think that he's using auto tune, but he is tuning.
Everybody has, like you said, a different style, different ways of doing things, bringing about the creativity, the music, everything else. And I know with you, you've not only have ventured into music, but you've also kind of worked towards starting a nonprofit called, I think it's Be the Reason. How did you
It
begin
is.
with that?
It is actually the shirt right here. Right,
Yeah,
yeah, you
which
see
is a
that on
shirt right there. Yeah.
front left. Yeah, yeah. So that was just something I've always kind of wanted to do. I've always wanted to have a nonprofit, and at first, it's like I don't even really know what that entails. Difference between a nonprofit and a standard LLC. Or for me, was starting to be the reason because I just wanted to kind of give back in any way I could, and I didn't. I'm not good at like taking credit. Like that's just not like something I like to do. You
Right. You
know,
like to
uh,
share it, spread it
Yeah, I'm not. I
around.
don't like to be the face of credit. Like I don't even want to be in the room when I hand you my Christmas gifts. Like I don't even want to see your reaction. Like I want nothing. I don't want nothing. I don't want you to look back and have to thank me. I want nothing to do with this. Like I just want you to be happy, and I always fade into the background, right? So like this is kind of what I did. I was like, me and a friend of mine, Johnny Ruiz, we both started this together. He had the same passion I did to do the exact same thing, and he's even more off camera than I am. And we have some other things we partner with as well. But that's we decided, let's just start it. Who cares? You don't have to be perfect. Just start. And it'll kind of develop itself. And at first we just like let's think of the obvious things. There's homeless needs, there's food needs, there's whatever right in the community. And from there, we actually have another venture called MDI, and it's on the financial end, and that's just like, well, we have like a Slack group where you can follow trades, learn a little bit. We built courses on educating people in the stock market. We partner with Washington D.C. to do it's like crypto training, but through that we're trying to bring a whole entrepreneurial, like both financial education as well, but entrepreneur education here in Orlando. And we're trying to get the city to approve something with that soon. So, all these different projects that venture into all the different things we love is how do you align what you love with giving back? And
Right.
this is kind of allowed me to do that, giving back the natural way. I love to connect with people. I love to hear what they have to say. I love to try to work them through the problems. And a lot of people just want to be heard, and that's great. And they don't have that ear. And we're trying to do our best to grab the biggest market that we can instead of just limiting to one thing. And a lot of
Right.
nonprofits have that one thing they do. That's the way you start. But trying to make the umbrella as big as possible. So I love it. It's something I love. It's kind of like like you have your thing now, and you're developing that all the time. Clearly, I'm on here right now, and you do the public speaking as well. So it slowly branches
Yeah.
out from the initial cause, but it's all under the same body.
Exactly. And it's something that you and I have in common is we're passionate about not just, you with your music, but you and I have what we have in common is that we are at the end of the day, we're advocates. We
For sure.
advocate for different things, we're passionate about different things in our community. And at the end of the day, it's all under one umbrella and we all come together and that's how we get things moving, you know?
Yeah, and I'm proud of you, man. Like I remember just being in the gym with you and talking there, and at that point, none of this was happening. You weren't doing what you were doing. I wasn't doing what I was doing. Obviously, I was
Yeah,
doing the
I
music
had
thing, but
yeah, like years ago, I had no idea I would be as successful or as vocal as I am now. And so I
yeah.
decided to take that step and just go through with it. Just go through with it and see what happens. And here we are now.
And that's the skill. I tell everybody like the one skill that I will consistently like claim. Like I said, I don't like to, but one thing I always say is that I am a very big like just go out and do it kind of person. Like if the idea is there, if the passion's there, what are you waiting for? I don't. It doesn't need to be perfect. Like I told many people, a lot of people come to me and they ask me like, like what you're saying now, like how'd you get started, stuff like that. And obviously, we're kind of in a podcast interview mode, right? But even naturally, friends will ask me, and they have ideas, and they're like, "Man, I would love to do this, or I'd love to do that." And I'm like, "Well, here's what you could do. Step one, do this." And I'm always hit with this like,
All right.
well, it's
I don't
I'm
know.
busy. I'm busy, and what if you don't like it?
Uh,
I'm like, you're busy. Come on. Like I know your life more or less, and you're not any more busy than I am. And it's like, like just do it. Like people have that fear of comparison and judgment, failure, whatever it may be, that holds them back. And that's the one thing I would say that like I never had. I've always been like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. No matter what the result is, I'll just try it.
Dude, it's like when I first started speaking publicly, my
Yeah,
first
that's
appearance
a big one.
was at UCF five years ago. And and I was honest with myself. I'm like, after I got done, I was like, man, I was terrible. I was like, this is garbage, and I don't want to do this again. But then I realized, it's only my first one. I just gotta keep on working at it, keep improving, and now it's like I can go in front of uh, an audience of what 200 kids, 300 people, and speak flawlessly with no nerves, nothing. It's like natural to me now.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And what you're talking about is like, I love to public speak as well. I don't, do it in the way you do it. But that's one of the most difficult skills to develop, approach, think of, any of that. Like that's like a top three fear for people on the planet. So, most of these people who come to me have ideas. Like for example, there's a girl, she's in England. She's doing a domestic violence thing, right? Something she wanted to do, a friend of mine, and I tell her like, hey, just start. She's like, well, what if this? And I'm like, just do it, do whatever. I'm gonna give you three things you can do. Do one of them. It's gonna take you 5 minutes to do this one thing. Can you just try that? And she's very, open. She's moving in, she's doing it, she gets excited, and she
Yeah.
feels the passion of it, and she rolls with it. But 99% of people don't do that. They sit on the idea, it just never gets done. And, they're afraid to make that move. You're talking about going out on stage and talking to 200 people, 300 people. I'm sure, like you said, at first you felt terrible and like that you didn't do well, and then you developed that. But, you deserve a lot of credit for even attempting that in the first place. That's for you to just go out and try that. That's a huge step, and that's something to be applauded. So good for you.
Yeah, especially
Proud
for
to keep
you
that going on, man.
being an artist, being a musician, you've to probably have done shows where you've had to get out there in front of people, right?
So it's actually crazy. I don't do shows, and it's not because of a stage fright thing. I have really no stage fright. That's not my fear or anything. It's just I don't my music that I make early on. I developed this I kind of like the storytelling aspect and the visuals, and I
Okay.
kind of fell in love with that. So I started making music to fit that. However, some of the songs that I'm doing now will fall under that other category of performance based, and it'll really, not to say that I can't perform any of my songs. I've actually considered doing Bonnie at like an open mic type thing where instead of just getting up and rapping with the beat, it's just like almost like
Yeah.
recreating video, like just me sitting at a desk writing as I say this thing with the beat playing, uh, almost like a spoken word. Um, so there's obviously elements to that, but the getting up on there and being in front of people, that's never been a problem for me. Uh, but I know that's definitely someone's worst fear, worst nightmare. A lot of people I
All
know.
right.
So, that's a huge applause to you for even getting out there and doing it and sticking with this. Like you got the channel now, you got the social media platform, you got people coming on, people talking to you, networking, working with the city or UCF. Like that's a huge development from us sitting at Planet Fitness, just
Yeah, times
whatever with our lives.
have gone so fast, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. And one of the things I always remember, just like yourself, is remember where you always started. Never forget where you began, because um most, or not all people, but some people, when they hit that stride of being really successful, they sometimes forget where they came from.
Yeah.
So be humble, always be humble.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Do you have something that early on you like did you envision where you wanted to be later with this? And not necessarily just, sure you want to speak in front of people and you're doing that and that nature, but did you have something like, okay, I always want to stay humble, so I'm always going to remember this moment. Did you have a moment that you still like go back to keep you there? If you get what I mean,
A
kind of type of question.
great question. Great question. So, uh, I would
And I only ask
say,
because I do have one.
yeah,
Right? That's
I
why I
would
was asking.
say, I mean, when I was a kid, I would always try to, I guess, educate and encourage, my peers to be more accepting and to be more understanding and inclusive on disabilities, and then being around my parents all the time and that being so encouraging. Um, the one moment that really is a highlight was the day that I graduated from UCF, because that moment, I remember my mom now telling me, you have one disability, it'll always be a part of you. Do your best to embrace it, and eventually people around you will accept you and will embrace it with you. And I didn't start thinking about speaking till about a year or two later, which people were telling me for years. They're like, man, you should do this, you should do that. And I would always be so like, I don't like we were talking earlier, like I'd be like, I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
man. Like, what if people don't like it, or they won't listen, or what if I don't get no response? Like, I don't know. And I'm like, and one day I thought to myself, you know what? Screw it. Let's go for it. Let's see what happens. And I got a good reception at the first appearance at UCF, which is my first speaking engagement. I had a few
yeah. It's a
of
big
my
one.
former football football colleagues that I played with in high school. I played football with, and they were there to show me support, and that meant a lot. And that said that, you know what, I'm capable of doing this. I'm sticking with it. And then fast forward to today, having being able to speak and doing the podcast. If it wasn't for those people early on, and my parents especially, I wouldn't be here right now being able to interview people like you, and that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's great to look back and always remind yourself that, where you were. Because, like you said, one, you also were scared to start and afraid of judgment and or whatever, right? Like, and, and it's not like that you're just caring what people think and that's the only holdback. You also care what you think about the product you're going to put out there. And for me, I definitely get what you're saying by that. Like the music thing was odd for me because I was like never seen as being a rapper person. Like that would have never been like if I told my family, hey guys, I'm gonna be a rapper. They would never believe that. Yeah, that's cute, honey. And just whatever, right?
Oh,
Like
oh man.
like I never was viewed as like it's not like I'm like this street guy or whatever. Like I'm more goofy than I am a rapper. Even when I go to the studio, my engineer there, they recorded my vocals and whatnot, and she's like, yeah, like I that revelation video I did. I get the hoodie on and stuff like that, and she's watching the video clip, and she's like this song almost makes you seem like you just look cool. I was like, well, gee, thanks, right? But but I get it. Like I fully, even though that was like a smack in the back of the head for me, it was just so true to how I've always viewed it. Like I've always been like more silly and jokey and sports based, I guess, than music. And even though I had that influence, it was never something that you would think, yeah, well, Charles gonna be a rapper one day. Like, sure, like yeah, I wouldn't even believe it. So it's a weird thing to try these new ventures and then continue with them on top of the fact to the point where some people only know me as that, right? But good for you, man, to take that leap and not succeed right out the gate. Feel like you failed and then continue, and that's kind of like the biggest strength that you can have.
Yeah, man, that's all you gotta do is don't let negative criticism or anything negative in your life deter you from your dream or from your goal. And that's something that I
Yeah,
share with my the youth that I work with, all my because I work with all boys, seventh and eighth graders as a youth counselor or mentor. And some of them are their parents are not there in their lives, are not present.
yeah,
So some of them see me as like their big brother. So I lead by example. I tell them, hey, things might be hard enough for you as a kid, but if you stick to being positive and you listen to what constructive criticism I'm giving you and you follow that path and there's this thing we do called the life map, and you follow that map that I get of guidance of being able to reach every goal by step by step by step, you'll get anywhere you want to when you're older. The key to what I do with these boys is we're trying to reduce the amount of kids that fall in that path of drugs, violence, gangs, uh, reduce the what's the word, recidivism rate in our jail and our juvenile detention systems. So our goal is to keep them from that. And I was told at the beginning when I first started this, when things went wrong with my boys, I would take it personal. Like, these are like if I had kids, these are my kids.
yeah. I feel you.
I took it personal, man. And they're like, you can't take it personal because then you get too attached and your emotions get involved. And you don't want that. And you got to understand that not every kid can be saved. You can do your best, you can do whatever you can, but at the end of the day, not all kids can be saved. And the ones that I save, great. The ones that I can't, I tried.
Yeah, and that's all you can do, man. Like you said, it'd be beautiful to be able to have every single kid just flip the switch and and be everything they want to be without problem. But that's not the way of the world. You can't. People have to make their own mistakes and grow at their own time. Hopefully, even the ones that you don't influence now, not that you don't influence, but that don't turn out the way you would like in the current moment, you never know how that influences them going forward. Not only did you provide some kind of positive, nurturing guidance in this time, sure, they didn't pick up the ball and run with it. Maybe they had some setbacks or got into trouble or did whatever it was and continued on the wrong path. But you never know where they would have been otherwise. Like in that time that they're with you, they could have been somewhere worse. So it's tough, like I said, to see the end result be something you don't want it to be. But all you can do is give your best foot and just kind of hope for the best. And that's unfortunate because anytime you're put in that situation, you feel like this emotional tie to this project and what you're doing.
Right.
And like you said, you take it personal. It's impossible not to if you're passionate. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of I know exactly what you're getting at with that, and I almost would rather take it personal and deal with the emotions than
Yeah.
not take it personal and half-assed. So
Yeah.
it's like whatever, I'm okay. Like I would rather me have the burden of taking it personal and being upset or being hurt or feeling like I didn't do good enough than go in with a game plan and not really give my all.
Right. I mean, that's a part of what I do, and I love it. And the fact that we're both advocates and we both have these things in common,
Yeah.
uh, really brings a sense of unity and community and uniformity among us. And and I love it, man. The fact that we're
Yeah, man.
both
If you need
making a
any help,
difference.
yeah, you need any help with any of that stuff, I'm always down to partner up on something.
Yeah, man.
Whatever way that may be, doesn't necessarily have to be on the paths that you would think that I would be in. I'm open to things. I'm open-minded. Uh, I would love to work on something. So if
Yeah,
it comes up,
eventually.
just, yeah, let
Yeah,
me know.
eventually, I'd like to get our boys involved in some events, to kind of help them get out there
Sure.
and have a sense of accomplishment. And
Yeah.
um,
How many kids you got on that in that crew?
I work with 15 for the year, so
Okay. So small thing, just while we're on here, doesn't matter, right? Uh, the nonprofit I partner with gets access to magic tickets, Orlando Magic,
oh, that's what.
and
Yeah,
it's
we
like,
do too.
uh, oh, okay, great, great, great. Just want to make sure because I was like, sometimes I don't even know what to do with them. Like nobody like can claim them, and I'm like, I already get tickets independently, like on my own from something
Okay.
else. So I'm like, too many to have. I don't even know what to do with them. So I just want to make sure that you had some kind of access to that. But that's great. Good, good.
Yeah, yeah, man. We have access to Orlando Magic tickets. We've had the Orlando City Soccer come to the school, and some of the players meet some of the boys, and
There you go.
we do a lot of we have community partners like uh we have real we teach them real estate, they teach them cooking, shoe design, shirt design, um music with you met Simba before. She
Yeah,
did a
yeah,
class with them, and yeah, and they get to learn all about these different things and kind of venture out and see what they want to do for the future. Like I already have a few of my boys that want to be real estate agents, and some of them want to be barbers, and it's awesome to see that they have something that they look forward to.
yeah. What company's doing this? Doing all these connections?
Oh well, I work for my brother's keeper, so it's an
My brother's
organization with
keeper.
Orlando.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about it. It's something that was started
Yeah.
by Barack Obama back
Sure.
in
No, I've
08.
heard about it. I just don't know too much about
It's incredible, man. I love it, man. I was kind of glad that I started 2 years ago after doing AmeriCorps for 4 years. And it's really falls into what I love doing, which is advocacy.
it. Yeah. Nice. No, that's great. I'm glad that I wasn't aware that that's who you were under, but I love it. Everything you're offering, the concepts, the range of opportunity there, it's big. And yeah, if you guys ever want to do anything, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm always open. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely get in contact with who I work with and see what we can do, and we could
Sure.
all kind of get together and sit down and formulate some ideas.
Okay. You have like a current project going on?
Well, right now I'm actually working with the commissioner, and like I said, I'm trying to we're actually trying to make World CP. We're trying to declare October 10th of next year as the day for Cerebral Palsy Day in the
Okay.
city of Orlando, and it'll be the first ever in the city's history to ever be done. So I'm getting close. We're getting very close. Like right now, we're in
Nice.
talks, and we keep in contact with each other. We have all that information, and we're trying to come up with walks and different events, and
Yeah.
because his mom has cerebral palsy as well. So when I mentioned to him, he and I met when I was working at Englewood during the summer,
Gotcha.
and he came in and we just had a brief conversation. And I told him what I was doing with the advocacy and the podcast and motivational speaking, and he's like, you know what, David, I could use you as a partner. We can work together on these ideas. Next thing you know, about a month or 2 months later, I'm sitting in his office. We're jotting all these ideas, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, in 5 years that I've been doing this, I never would have thought that I'd be sitting with a government official planning something huge.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. See, it's just like you said, it's not about that perfect start. It's just about starting. That's it. Just
And
do it and continue to do it.
we're just starting, man. We're just starting with what we're
Yeah.
doing, and it's fantastic. And like I said, I love networking with people like you and people outside of here because it gives us an opportunity to not just myself be successful, but everybody at the end wins. Everybody wins.
Yeah. And when you do it for, a non, you know, greed reason, like you're just doing it to do it for other people and it's genuine, it'll always succeed. Like you don't have to have $1 million to make somebody's day or to change something, like you said, making that one day so noted for cerebral palsy. That's going to be a big thing. Like, man, I didn't even mention it, but a couple months ago, I had Bell's palsy out of nowhere. Obviously, not nearly anything the
Oh,
same, but
You had Bell's palsy?
yeah, it came up out of
Wow.
nowhere. I'm just like, wow, yeah, yeah. I was like, oh gosh, like what a random thing. And fortunately, that was only a few weeks, and it went away, and then I was good for the most part. Like after that, and then obviously nothing now. But it was it's a weird thing to go through something like that, and
Do
for
do
you to
you know what
highlight the
caused
truth
it?
onto it. No, they didn't know. So there's so many things it could be, like, oh, Lyme disease, blah, 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 right? Strokes, whatever. And they ruled out all that. So they did all this big stress test, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, you're good, man. Like, it just, it can just happen. And I'm like, all right, well, that doesn't make me feel very good about preventing it from happening again. But apparently someone else I knew had it, a couple of people, and actually my teammate here, Johnny, that I referenced would be the reason he had it in high school. I wasn't even aware of that. But a friend of mine recently, his daughter had it, and he said she had a bad sinus infection, and they think that that's what led to it happening. And I also had a sinus infection, so that I didn't even know I had. They told me that. So maybe
Oh
maybe
man.
that. But it was just kind of a
Yeah.
weird thing to wake up progressively each day with less. Couldn't close, couldn't close my eyes, couldn't really eat. It was just a frustrating thing. But fortunately, I was, I remained calm through it, and I didn't, overreact or anything. I still stood around my day, still did all the same things, went to the gym, do whatever I do. Uh, and but man, thank God that's gone. I don't have to think about that part. But
Yep.
it's a big thing you're doing to connect with people who are going through similar things, and maybe they feel alone, or maybe they don't feel good enough, or maybe they feel just overwhelmed by cerebral palsy or any of that. And it's nice to have that networking that you're creating. So
Yes.
another kudos to you for that.
Thank you, man. And then I want to ask you, right? I mean, to kind of end this podcast on a high note.
Sure.
So the World Cup, who do you
Nice.
have winning?
So not I won't say initially because I didn't really make a group pick. I went through and picked who I thought would win in each group, but um once, let's say, starting at knockout round, I had Brazil over France. Uh and actually the last three World Cups, I from knockout round on, I've correctly picked the finals winner for both teams, which is
Did you put
you're
money
probably not
down?
gonna. But no, only on
Oh,
one.
oh.
Only on one, and it wasn't even like Vegas. It was like with some people. And but the first time I was like, oh man, some confidence. Second time I was like, I'm gonna throw some money down on this,
I
and then
got this. Yeah, yeah, I got
the
this.
third time I was like, I should really throw money on this. Nah, retire undefeated. Leave it. Don't mess with it. And then it worked out again, and I was just like, you know what? This time I also no money on it. I never picked Brazil ever. Brazil to me they're kind of overly finesse,
Yeah.
and as you see
Portugal?
Spain, Portugal. I like Portugal. I think they're all right. I don't think they have the depth to compete with France, and even honestly at this point in England. The reason I put Brazil, I never picked like Spain is another one of those. They're overly finesse, and they can kind of once you get on their attack, like stop their attack a little bit, you can get in their head. And obviously they just lost to Morocco, and it's like
Yeah.
come on, man, like the talent. If you look at that list of players on the talent on Spain's side, obviously it's Ziyech on Morocco there up front from Chelsea, but it's like they have no business losing to Morocco in this setting.
Right.
But that's part of the game. That's why you play, and you never know what happens. But I think Brazil. I mean, the injury factor is kind of rough because they're just banged up like crazy. But I think Brazil finally has a little more edge across their front line in comparison to previous years. So I like them a lot. Mbappe looks amazing for France, so it's hard not to like them. But I'm not going to change my pick. I would say obviously France looks the best out of any of the teams right now, but I'll stick with Brazil over France just because I don't like to flip. But who you got? I'm assuming you
Um,
did not pick USA.
no, I
I
don't. No, the
think all
U.S.
of them.
I knew the U.S. was gonna make it far. I knew from the very
Yeah,
beginning. I
yeah.
had when I had seen Japan, I wanted them to go all the way because of the way that
I
they were
was so
been playing,
sad. I was
and
so hurt.
they were just knocking everybody out like the big dogs,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I love them. I love that team.
But
Yeah,
now that they're out, my pick would be Portugal all the way.
Portugal. So Ronaldo.
But
Um,
Ronaldo,
this guy is
he is
like,
really
what's going on
questionable,
with this
man.
guy?
Did you
Yeah,
hear what
what's going
happened
on with him?
recently?
Yeah, I did see.
He
I'm
signed with
like,
Saudi Arabia.
yeah, well, I actually thought he was going to do that like 6 years ago or whatever when, they were going after Messi and everybody, but, and then China did the same thing. But it's just crazy. I don't know what's mentally going with him right now because obviously he had issues with Man United, and now there's,
I
he's been
wanted
in.
to see him at MLS and him to retire at
Gosh,
MLS, but that never
that's
happened.
that's what I want to see. And you never know, like these Saudi deals, they offer crazy money, but you
They
know how
do.
soccer is,
Did you see his contract? How much they offered him? Like 207 million
dude.
euros or thing, something like that.
Dude, it's nuts. They were talking about Messi and Ronaldo combining for $1 billion when that league first was like getting big. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, but now you see Messi's coming to MLS.
Oh, he's
That's
going to MLS too?
yeah, he got offered last year for Miami through Beckham. Like, you come on, you get a percentage. Like, so Beckham signed to the Galaxy from England. He got an ownership clause in there that was like, okay, you're gonna come to LA, and when you retire, we'll help you fund your own team. Hence him coming here, coupled with the crazy merch deal he got, right? Then same kind of concept he's doing to Messi. If you come to Miami, we'll get you here, and then we'll get you set up with some future endeavors, like what it is you want to do. So while they never talk about it anymore, he is slated to be on Miami next year. So I don't know
Interesting.
what, yeah, I don't know what the situation would be. I would love to see, Argentina, Portugal, and I love Messi. I'm a big Messi guy, but I don't see those two making it far enough to play each other. However, like you said, Ronaldo comes to MLS. I don't care what team he's on, but if they're playing Miami, I'm gonna fly to catch that game.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, with Messi, I think if hypothetically speaking, if they were to make it and win it, I think it retires after that.
Gosh, it's interesting because we're still halfway through the actual season. Like Ligue 1 in France is not over. Premier League's not over. All these things are still they just stopped for this. So even if he finished with, I think he retired from Argentina play because I think this is his last
Yeah.
World Cup anyway. But to see him retire overall, I mean, you never know how winning something like that does. He could easily just call it quits, just off of that. But he's playing pretty good over at PSG now. Kind of taking away from Mbappe, like to the point where he was talking about leaving, but his playing time's bigger. It's just weird, like to see, like I remember when Jordan retired, when Kobe retired. Like it's
And they
odd to
came back,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, it's odd to see anyone leave that's been there for 100 years of your life.
But see, there
So
there comes a time where, speaking of retirement, it's like there's a retirement where they come back and they come back better than ever. Then there's a retirement where they come back and there's baggage. Like
yeah,
Brady, that man, knowing that he had full well that he had to deal with the, family issues, his divorce, all that stuff, still came to play. And I gotta be honest with you, man, this has been his worst season out of his 20 years that he's been in the league.
yeah, and then yesterday in the last 3 minutes of the game, he
He
looks
almost
like the
he blew
best.
a gasket. He blew a gasket, and then we're down
like,
16-3, and then they won in the last few minutes.
like all of a sudden, it's the best he's ever been, right? Oh wow! Just looked at the matchups here. By the way, Netherlands, Argentina, and obviously England, France is gonna be nuts. Morocco,
Netherlands
Portugal,
got
and
Argentina. They're gonna beat them.
gosh, man, Netherlands stack. I'm just surprised Belgium didn't make
They're
it.
gonna destroy them.
But what was the last match up there? Dang, I missed it. Blanking on who else has advanced. Oh, Brazil versus somebody else great. That's gonna be a great, quarterfinal there. But
Croatia. I
oh,
know
Croatia, yeah. Croatia's
Croatia.
another good one. Look, Modric's like 100 years old, still playing good. But yeah, no, definitely with Brady, man. I get you. Like you had the Jordan come back. You had the Brady come back. It's tough with him because he obviously won a Super Bowl, but he should have just stopped there. And now it's like a secondary comeback, like what you're alluding to, and too much off-field baggage for him. I mean,
See
maybe now.
if he could have sorted out the off-field baggage, maybe he could have come back, refreshed, renewed, and played better football because you can't go around berating your offensive line because they miss a
Every
block
day.
for you because eventually they're going to go and be like, man, you know what? Screw this. We're not going to block for you. We're going to let you get hit every
Yeah,
game.
yeah. You see, was it Russell Wilson in Seattle with his deal there before? Not where he's in Denver now, but when he got the Seattle deal, he bought like
Yo,
his whole offensive line
Denver,
like cars
Denver
or
shot
something like
themselves in the
that.
foot, man.
Oh, and I knew it, man. I knew it. I mean, not that I hate on Russell Wilson or anything, but I've never been a Russell Wilson guy, other than the year right after all the defensive players went away. He stepped up really well and he looked the part. He did his part. Obviously they didn't go far in the playoffs, but other than that, that's always been a kind of a defensive team, and he just did well enough to keep it afloat. Kind of like Jimmy G going to the Super Bowl before, but I mean, step better than that, obviously. But and then, terrible. Sorry for Denver, but I'm also perfectly fine with it because I'm a Bengals fan and I don't want anybody in the AFC doing well. So everyone can fail. I'll be fine with that. No more
There
competition. I
we
don't need it
go,
to be
right?
pretty. I just want to
Boom.
win. I don't care if they look back and say, "Oh, well, that was the weakest AFC I've ever seen in my life." That's fine. We won the Super Bowl for the first time in my life. I'll be great.
I cannot believe that Carolina releases Baker Mayfield and then the
Yeah.
Rams pick him up as a backup. And I'm like, what the hell?
Why? Why even waste the money? What are you even doing with that? He's
They're,
obviously going to stick with Stafford next year.
they're like
And
Stafford's gonna go on the decline or he's gonna eventually retire because they got that Super Bowl ring. And I'm like, don't be thinking so.
he's not that done. Yeah.
He's
I,
not
I don't
that done
know.
yet. But
I
they're
thought, no, go ahead.
I mean they want to go younger because they want to focus on the future. But why Baker? Why Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, that ain't going to last. And it just feels like a band aid for the rest of the season because obviously they have backup injury and backup injury, Bryce Perkin, whatever. But it's just, nah. I don't see anything there. Let's just pretend Baker goes out and wins, five of the last or four of the last 5 games, whatever's left. Are you really gonna keep him around for another season and put him above Stafford? Probably not. So what are you really doing? Giving him an opportunity to start for the Texans next year or whoever?
And then
Like
OBJ was spotted with the Cowboys
yeah, but
at the one of the games. Yeah, one of the
they
basketball
said
games.
that
Yeah.
they came out earlier and said that they had concerns about his injury from
And his
before
health too,
ACL.
because his health too, because
Yeah, playing.
I don't know if you knew about 2 weeks ago he was on a plane
Yeah,
and he had
yeah,
I think he had passed out or something. And then,
yeah. Some
but
kind of
then he's,
weird thing.
yeah, there's some kind of weird thing. But then he said, "Oh, it was my seatbelt," this and that, and just making up excuses.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I
I
don't know,
don't, I
man.
don't, I don't. I've never heard of seatbelt causing that kind of issue, but I mean, I don't know. He's like I said, they just announced today that I think it was Edward reported that the Cowboys were wary that he's not ready to play today. So essentially,
Not until
they don't even know if
2023.
he'll be ready. Yeah, they're like, we don't even know if he'll be able to play come mid-January, and then at that point, it's playoff time. Like, like what are you gonna do? Clear roster spot for this guy to maybe play? And I know it's a deep roster. You're gonna have some guys that barely playing at all, but do you want to gamble that and give this guy some kind of
I
money?
mean,
Just
he'd be a suitable replacement for Cooper Cup, who's out for the season with an injury.
yeah, but again, it's one of those their season's done, right? So why even bring in anybody? Like I don't know where the fit is there and what's the point? Like Dallas has no, and Dallas is hot. The receivers look great, right?
They're
But
all
they
right. I
have talent. They
mean,
have talent there at receiver. They could use one other guy at that three spot, but I mean, not that I'm like nostalgic about it, but I feel like he'd just be better off for his own sake, and trying to prove his biggest value is with the Giants again. He's got more
right.
open field. Daniel Jones is holding on to the ball forever, which
Yeah,
whatever. But why not? Like everywhere else is kind of just pointless. The Saints is no longer a real option. The Packers aren't going anywhere. The Rams are done. Like it's pretty much just Cowboys and Giants, and you can go to the Giants or the Cowboys and kind of repeat what you do with the Rams, where you're just like a small role guy, and you can go far and ride the team. But then that's kind of your legacy again. Like, but I mean, whatever, right? It'll be interesting nonetheless. Hopefully neither of those teams go anywhere anyway.
yeah, man. So I've actually had a blast in today's podcast. We kind of covered a lot of different topics, and
Yeah,
um,
yeah, definitely. Me too. Thanks
we
for considering it. I love it.
yeah, man. I had a blast with you learning about your journey with the music, and we spoke a little bit about wrestling and a little bit about
Yeah.
football and soccer, and we
And about the
and
Celtics being
and the
better than the
Celtics
Heat,
and how much they're trash. How
number
we're gonna
one
beat you.
seed,
How we're gonna beat you.
and Tatum is. We play each other. I think back to back soon. Both in Boston
Oh
though.
man. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're kind of trash right now because our team is
Hmm.
down, and we also don't have a name for our arena. So,
Yeah,
so
I
how
know,
bad we
right? Yeah,
are.
it literally robbed you of your team.
FTX robbed us.
Yeah. Oh, is that on the jersey? Let me see that thing. If you lean forward, is it up there on the chest patch?
No, we got something
Oh no,
else.
you got. Oh yeah, you got UKG or
UKG.
whatever.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's
yeah,
right.
UKG. Yeah.
I was just saying, look at this guy. No, yeah. No, that's great though. I mean, I love the sports competition there. And in Miami, we finally overcame the Miami obstacle last year. Like, I'm so
I
tired of
mean,
losing to them.
at least if you think about it, Miami will always be better than the Magic. The
Oh,
Magic are
poor Magic.
sorry.
I try my best to love them, like as that hometown backup team kind of thing. But goodness, like they can't close games. Jonathan Isaac just got sent to D League to finally practice, so that's something. If he's healthy, who
I
knows?
told a buddy of
But
mine that but that Banchero, he got drafted last year, and I told him give him 2 years and he'll be gone out of Orlando somewhere else. He's just a loan player for y'all. He's just you're getting loaned a good player just for him to be gone.
it's interesting with him. Like for some reason, I could see him staying. I think that the team
For
around
how
him.
long though? For how long?
I mean the second deal. So you got his rookie deal, right? And then this his first actual deal. I can see him staying in Orlando for that deal. Unlike Shaq, unlike T Mac, unlike Dwight, whatever, right? Like I can see him actually staying because I think this time around, if you look at those teams, obviously the Magic expansion team, whatever, they got all these cool guys at once somehow, and it was fun, it was cool, and then Shaq took the money, right? But there's that. T Mac, they tried as far as they could, but that was one of the worst rosters around a star I've ever seen in my entire life. And then he got swapped. Right, swapped. Then Dwight, he tried. That they got to the finals, and then they tried
Yeah.
to make that work. There's just too much dysfunction with the coach and him and whatever, and they got rid of him. But this time, we have a that was a veteran roster. Now we have an actual like solid young core of players that can make well. Obviously, I don't think Suggs is getting some crazy deal, and Cole Anthony's not getting a crazy deal, and Fulton's getting almost any deal. Isaac probably nothing, also because of his injuries. Like you have good core young players, Wagner, another guy that you're not gonna have to spend too much money on. You know, you could
Yeah.
probably throw the money into a combination of Wagner and not that I think Wagner deserves crazy money, but he could probably end up getting one of those Tyler Hero type contracts, and then which is crazy money, and then just fill the rest in for Paulo. But I don't know. I got some hope for the team. They don't close games. They're still young. They still don't really know how to win, but there's some hope and some semblance, like to not be one of the worst teams again.
Yeah, man,
Finally,
we just have to see, what
Sacramento's a playoff team right now. For goodness
future
sakes.
unfolds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, uh, thank you again, brother, for being on. Um, of course, everything that you have, your social media, your YouTube and all that stuff will be on the description. And
Appreciate it.
you know, as we kind of close out this podcast, I really enjoyed the fact that we bonded with, just the advocacy part and learning about your journey with your music, and then and being able to cover various different topics, the NBA, wrestling,
Yeah.
football. And it's always good to bring variety, and to always remember that stay positive in regards to your goals, and things might get hard at first, but we keep pushing forward, just like that Magic team. Right now they're struggling, but they're gonna pull through eventually
Yeah.
if you can get rid of your management, because that's the key thing. The management, it's awful. Get rid of
Well,
Hennigan. Get rid of what's his face, Otis. What's his
oh,
son?
he's gone. Yeah, Otis Smith's gone. Like,
That needs
yeah,
to
we
leave
have we
too.
have all these guys from the Bucks and Raptors now. So the team that put together, they drafted Giannis and stuff. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
So
it,
I mean, it's one of those things, man. It's about rebuilding and just slowly getting better, improving. And I feel like that's was our main topic of our podcast today. Is just we go through struggles and we deal with humble beginnings, but
yeah.
we work through it and we become successful.
For sure. And I appreciate you having me on. Thanks as always. Love to do this anytime. Love to partner with anything you got going on because I know everything
Thank
you do is for the right reasons.
thank you, man.
So
I truly
yeah,
appreciate it, and I appreciate you too for getting out there and making a difference.
yeah, man. Just trying to do this last little a teddy bear donation drive.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Plug it in, man. Plug it in.
oh, plug it. Yeah, sure. All right, I got you. So yeah, working with Advent Health downtown Orlando here to donate teddy bears to kids that are fighting cancer. So you can go into my link anywhere you find the link, whether it's IG or on our website, realsealkid.com, and you automatically get a pop-up box that'll present the item there. So any bear that's donated will go to a kid battling cancer in that hospital downtown Orlando. And it's just something that, I don't really care what the number is of how many bears are there or whatever the result is. I just want to get out there and try to do something that I thought was a kind idea. And I feel pretty passionate about it. Something that I will be pushing, though I don't push much of my own stuff. I will be pushing this. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on it.
You're welcome, man. I'm always about pushing everyone's ideas, what they have, promotion. It's at the end of the day, we're all working together towards one common goal, and that's to become uh successful in what we'd like to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so this podcast will be on YouTube, iTunes, and every other major podcasting outlet out there. I hope you guys enjoyed having Charles, CL Kid for that matter. He's been a fantastic guest. Thank you for being on, brother.
Appreciate it as always. Thank you.
And
Anytime.
until next time, have a good one, you guys.
Too sweet.